So far to this very day, my fundamental rights have not been violated.
Okay.
So I never felt need to invoke my fundamental rights through the courts of law.
Yeah.
Whenever someone's fundamental rights are violated, then the person has the right under the Constitution to enforce them through the superior courts of the country. First of all, I would like to explain that what is basically a constitution. A constitution is a social contract between the state and the citizens.
Yep.
So under Article 2A of the Constitution, which objective resolution has become the substantive part of the Constitution, the doctrine of good governance, that the government of the day and its institutions has to ensure that they basically ensure good governance. So this is the first responsibility of the government of the day, to ensure the enforcement of the fundamental rights.
Okay.
In case there is some violation of fundamental rights, then the person whose rights have been violated is under a moral obligation, and I would say a legal obligation, not in the strict sense, but it is his right, his or her right, to enforce it through the superior courts of the country. Article 199 of the Constitution basically empowers the high courts of the country to enforce fundamental rights, and then Article 184 of the Constitution empowers the Supreme Court of the country to enforce fundamental rights. You must have heard about the suo motu jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. And that's under Article 184(3), that the Supreme Court, if there is a question of which is related to public interest and is a matter of public importance, then the Supreme Court can take suo motu notice, or under the original jurisdiction, the Supreme Court can pass orders to all governments, provincial or the federal, or all agencies, the law enforcement authorities in the country.
Exactly.
So as far I am concerned, to this very day, God has been very kind. I never felt the need to invoke my to go to the court and file a petition, because my fundamental rights have not been violated.
Yeah,
I have been lucky
because
when
you're
I
privileged, alhamdulillah.
Yes,
but there's like a major segment of the society that needs to learn from you. That's why you're here to share the knowledge as well. Shahzad, I do realize you have a quick question. If you can do that, then I want to move on.
All right, so I'll move on to Mohammed.
I would say that there is need to revamp the entire criminal justice system in this country, starting from the police reforms. Then first we need to have educated police officers.
Of course.
We need to make sure that they go through psychological testing as well, because somebody who has stopped you and he wanted bat for his son or for whatever purpose best known to him, I think he was a psychopath. This is my personal understanding of the matter. Because just to get a bat when you refused, because it was your right and you were absolutely right, you showed your membership card of the Islamabad club, and then he made sure that he wanted to fix you for disobedience, I would say. So he wanted to fix you, and he launched an FIR against you and leveled a very serious allegation of theft.
Exactly.
So it obviously it was a life-changing event, because unfortunately, because the system we have, if somebody levels an allegation against you, particularly the police officer, and FIR is registered against you, then the person who is accused, the salutary principle of criminal jurisprudence is innocent until proven guilty. But unfortunately, because of the practical issues we face every day, the person who is accused, who is innocent until proven guilty, then he has to prove his innocence. Then, you know,
and that's the most difficult part.
That's the most difficult part. And that includes defamation, the social issues, the financial issues, and then the career issues as well. Because there are so many places where you go, the first question they ask is whether a criminal case has been registered against you, what kind of criminal case, and what was the offense, and what was the outcome, particularly when you apply for visas or jobs abroad. And if you conceal it, it means that you are doing misrepresentation. And when you explain it, obviously it has an adverse effect on your career path, or whatever. So my personal understanding of the matter is that it was very unfortunate what happened to you, and I don't know what is the outcome, and what was the outcome must have happened a few years ago. I'm sure by now you are acquitted.
Alhamdulillah, everything's fine. So towards the end, I actually had to beg him, touch his feet, and you kind of ask for mercy that, you know, come on, we are.
This was hardly few years back. They were finally having an ID card and even a passport. So what about their constitutional right to have a national identity?
It's a very good question, but with your permission, I would like to add something.
Sure.
What my learned friend has said. I think as far the Constitution is concerned, Constitution is Islamic in nature, there is no doubt about it, and there are certain Islamic provisions in the Constitution. So people, the audience must know that the Constitution is Islamic in nature. There are Islamic provisions in the Constitution. It is a matter of opinion, basically, that there is need to improve what implementation. Okay. Article 3 of the Constitution clearly states that it is the duty of the state to eliminate all forms of exploitation. You see, all forms of exploitation. So it's, and then to work for the fulfillment of the fundamental principle. So having said that, there are certain provisions, Islamic provisions, right to profess and right to have religious institutions and everything. As for theory is concerned, as for the theory is concerned, the articles of the Constitution are concerned, it is absolutely everything. It is an excellent piece of legislation, I would say. The question is of implementation, basically. Now moving back to your question, I think it was the apex code of the country, as far I remember, I recall, yes. It was the apex code of the country. The Supreme Court of Pakistan passed an appropriate order for transgenders, and they got their identity cards. My personal viewpoint is that there is need of special legislation to empower transgenders, as there are certain special legislations to empower women, like Harassment at Workplace Act 2010. I think it is, though it is not gender specific, but there is no doubt about it that this particular act empowers women. So I think that there is need to the government of the day and the opposition, because it is a national matter basically, and there should be no politics on national issues. So I think that, and it's also a matter of human rights, basically, the fundamental rights of citizens, and because unfortunately that they were born with a disadvantage, I would say, unfortunately, because the situation.
Or we took it as a disadvantage.
Yes, we took it. Yeah. I would absolutely, thank you. I stand corrected. We take it as a disadvantage, or it is the way of the world, I would say.
Yeah.
Anyway, there is need of special legislation to empower them, that there is need of special quota in the workforce, and there is need that the Baitul Mal we have and the Benazir Income Support Program we have. There are two social welfare programs in Pakistan. I think there is need of special quota for transgenders, that they should be, their medical facilities, they should be paid for medical facilities, there should be some financial assistance as well. So it's a special class basically, and there is need of special classification, and they should be empowered through appropriate legislation and comprehensive legislation, which should include their education rights as well.
Which still needs to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. But I love the fact that now
it's a long walk to freedom, I would say. It's a long walk.
Yeah, but I want to add to this. I love the fact that Allama Iqbal opened.
And I'm not going to ask anything. I want you to speak about it. I've seen people who've murdered people. They're still out in the free, in the open, roaming, having a good life. I've seen people that their land was grabbed, and on the other hand, on the contrary, the person who was the affectee is actually behind the bars. So, how do you think that we can actually have a fair trial in a country where we have seen people getting away with murder, and we have seen people that they were the ones who were the affectees and are behind the bars? Let's speak about it.
Article 10 of the Constitution you are talking about. Right to fair trial. Right to fair trial is very important, and Article 4.
First of all, what you need to tell me is, do we get a fair trial? Let's
absolutely,
be honest.
Absolutely. Okay. I'll come to that. Article 4 of the Constitution talks about the due process of law, and recently Article 10 of the Constitution was introduced, which specifically stipulates the right to fair trial. As far my personal experience is concerned, I would say that it's not that the courts or the criminal justice system is not providing fair trial to the citizens, but there is undoubtedly need to improve the system, to revamp the entire criminal justice system, because let me give you an example from the cybercrime. For cybercrime, you need experts investigating officers. I am certain that there are hardly few IOs working in Islamabad and Rawalpindi region. So starting from the prosecution viewpoint, so first we need to make sure that the prosecution, which is FIA, Federal Investigating Agency, so we need to have specialized courses for them first, and to make sure that best out of the best, they are appointed as investigating officers and in reasonable number, number one. Number two, that the judges they must go through trainings. It's not that they are not going through trainings; they are going through certain trainings. Then the lawyers, the expert lawyers, and the criminal justice system is based on CPC, which is the Code of Criminal Procedure, and then the PPC, Pakistan Penal Code, basically. And then there are specialized legislations like PTA, Pakistan Telecommunication Act, which Section 31 speaks about the masking and the certain offences and their punishments. So what is required is that a joint effort, a comprehensive legislation, then training, and before all this, a political will is required and finance is required to revamp the entire criminal justice system. And I think this is the need of the hour, and it's been 72 years. And I believe, yes, we need to do this. Absolutely, it should be top priority for the top-notch judiciary and the government of the day, and all of us, people who are the civil society, I would say.
And we are trying our level best.
We are trying our level best. Very important question.
Yeah, but moving on, of course, Shahzad, I think we already spoke about the fact that there are rights bestowed upon us by the Constitution, but to realize them or to implement them is the main issue we're here. But sir, I want you to talk to us or explain